Right, good evening once more again, South Africa. I have a question for you. Are we being sold? Because, on the other hand, look at what is happening. Government entities are collapsing one by one. Eskom, no longer working. In fact, it's no longer a monopoly as much as you may say it's working. The post office, dysfunctional, water supply, private companies are stepping in, just like what happened to the electricity. After a series of load shedding, the private sector came to our rescue. But now, home affairs services like IDs and passports are being handed over to the banks. For me, it feels like we are selling the country piece by piece, handing it over to the private sector. Even when people are talking about the Land Act expropriation with nil compensation, that too is a way of selling the land to the private sector. It's anyone with money who is going to be able to get that land. So the question is, what's happening and who is benefiting? Because this won't benefit anyone who's poor. But then here's the other side. Maybe, just maybe, this is not selling. Maybe it's saving. Let's be honest. Home affairs queues, oh, they have been a nightmare for days for most of South Africans. Eskom couldn't keep the lights on. Remember, load shedding, right? Post office on its own couldn't even deliver letters anymore. So the government has failed to run these entities properly. That is why now it is resorting to selling them to the private sector. So isn't it better that private sector is stepping in? At least we get efficiency, you know what I mean? At least we cut the queues. At least services keep running. Basically, what I'm saying is we are stuck between two truths. On one side, efficiency, convenience, progress. On the other, loss of ownership, higher costs, and ordinary South Africans will be left out. Yes, we might get our passports quicker, but at what price? Yes, we might avoid the queues, but who will own the country at the end of the day? I just have a series of questions, of endless questions. Actually, this is a real debate. Are we fixing services or are we selling South Africa to private sector piece by piece? I just have a lot of questions, literally. So here are the questions for you too. Please do comment your answers down below. Do you think this is progress or do you think South Africa is being sold to the highest bidder? Would you rather stand in long queues at government offices or pay more for faster services from private companies? Is this the solution or are we slowly losing the country? This has been played very well by the politicians. Now let's go down the memory lane. I don't want to talk about SAA, but that does no longer exist. It went down together with other companies that were thriving that time. Your Mango, we don't see it anymore. But let's move to logistics. Transnet, no longer that functional. Private sector has stepped in. It's either to rescue or to rip off the industry. You know, capitalists. The post office has also given room it gave a room to private sector to step in and thrive in that space. It's not a bad thing, right? For businesses to be able to compete in that space. And now it's not only the government that is monopolizing these industries, but me and you, we know this, that this is not beneficial to the ordinary South African who cannot afford even a loaf of bread. How can they afford to step into these competitions, into these spaces, and compete with the well established businesses? When it comes to electricity, it was done very well, load shedding, a series of load shedding, and a recommendation that said we should allow the private sector to come in and rescue that space and work in that space. The only thing that we've done is to create a room for competition that is not for everyone, but a certain elites and certain individuals. Same thing now is happening with water as we speak. We're having water crisis in the country, water shedding, and the private sector is waiting to rescue that industry as well. But don't we need clean water? Don't you think the private sector is going to give us that? But at what cost? Once more again, I'm asking. It's just a question. As much as we would enjoy clean water and water that is available now and again, but at what cost? Can we all afford it? There's just a lot. And Land Expropriation Act, it's just the front because the Department of Public Works, Macpherson, if I'm not mistaken, he is in the process of establishing a property agency within the government. What is this property agency going to do? It is going to be responsible of identifying land to expropriate and then selling that land to a willing buyer. And also the land that is going to be identified as a land that needs to be expropriated, owners of that land will also be compensated. They will be given money in order for them to give the land away, or buildings that they are no longer using. And guess what the government is going to do? They're not going to refurbish or renovate these places or buildings. Rather, they will just sell it to a willing buyer, someone who wants to develop that particular land or building. Isn't that privatizing land? Isn't that selling land to the private sector? And when we're saying private sector, we're not talking about the ordinary South African, but we're talking about anyone in the world who can afford to buy these things or be in the space of competing in these industries. Now, home affairs, we all know that no one likes going to home affairs because of the queues. But now, does it mean the government needs to give away the services to private sector rather than hiring more people so that they can speed up the processes and also encourage the employees to do an efficient job? Rather, they are outsourcing this to private sectors. Remember, if the government hires more people in the under government, then all of those people will gain and will have an opportunity to have a pension fund at the end of their working years. They will have a lot to gain. There are also benefits that come with being an employee of the government. Are we selling our country or are we saving it? Please do comment down below. This is Ubani Kandondo. Thank you for watching and listening. See you next time.